How to save money, spend wisely, and think clearly about money. Most of the time, people see things in a very narrow way. They have a limited view of how decisions are made. They look at the current problem and handle it as if it were the only problem. Often, it's better to look at problems than at solutions. As they keep coming up in your life, you look at the best way to handle a group of problems. It would be better if it were hard to do. People have a narrow view of things, like when they save and borrow at the same time instead of treating their whole portfolio of assets as one thing. If people could see the bigger picture, they would, in general, make better choices. So that is definitely one of the problems with how people make decisions. This is called narrow framing. I want to make a difference between independence and freedom. So being financially free is like being mentally free. Financial freedom is knowing that I'm me and that there's a market out there with which I interact, but that it doesn't run my life. It's freeing my mind from the messages of consumer culture, the messages of the economy, and the messages that, a house is a starting house. That's not my house. I could die in my home, It seems like there are so many assumptions that force us into slavery and debt, and it doesn't matter if you are on the low end or the high end. If you are in a stressful process of wanting more, and more, you are not free. So the first thing I talk about when I talk about financial security is freedom of the mind. It stops you from saying things like, I'm in charge, the economy isn't important. I will move my sovereign self into the economy for my own purposes. Rather than acting like I'm a schlump and the economy is my mega boss. And I don't know, my boss seems to be as big as the sky. So I'll just let my boss and the tax system run my life, and I'll just let this thing run me. You are a sovereign being, and your own sovereignty is the first layer of your financial freedom. The second step is to get out of debt. For some people, debt feels like it will never end. And if you want to get out of debt, the first step is to stop getting into debt. People who have written to us say they paid off their loan in a couple of years. Unpayable debt. Debt that would never be paid off. With this much debt, they would die. And once they see what the debt is doing to them in terms of their current and future chances, they will be more likely to pay it off. That's the kind of connection we try to get people to make, so that something in the future is more important than the pleasure of getting one more useless trinket right now. And the third step is to put those 6 months' worth of savings in liquid assets, like bank accounts or other places where you can get the money within 24 to 48 hours. So that you have an emergency fund, so that you don't go back into debt if something bad happens, like if you miss a payment or lose your job. Which, a lot of people feel like they can lose even their most important jobs at any time. You want to get out of a dangerous situation? And saving is one way to get out of that situation. The next step toward financial freedom is to realize that you can invest your extra savings in a way that makes them pay off. Over time, you can watch your passive income grow if you save regularly and sometimes obsessively, and you can see it on a chart. You keep track of everything you buy because you know that money is your life energy. And if you don't want to write down every transaction in a little notebook, you can just use your debit card. I said debt, not credit. You use your debit card, and your bank keeps track of everything you buy. Every month, you look at what you bought and put it into groups that fit your life. When you look at that, you kind of tell yourself the truth about whether spending your life energy that way makes a difference. For some kinds of choices, you need to be good with numbers. So, people who are good with numbers have a big edge over those who aren't. If you want to borrow money or save money, it is very important to understand how compound interest works. People don't really understand how compound interest works, which is very bad. So I would say that the first thing you need is to be good with numbers, but a lot of people are. Then you need to look at things in the big picture. This is often linked to math, but it's not quite the same thing. By keeping things in perspective, it's important not to feel too strongly about things. And what I mean by that is that most of us react to wins and losses and other changes in our lives. Actually, you'll do better if you look at things in the big picture and think, you win a few, you lose a few, and your emotional response to small wins and losses is very limited. So many times, we think that money can not only make us happy but also make us better, or better than other people, or safer, or, so many deep, gut-level emotional feelings come out in the way we feel about money. We want more money and more happiness, so maybe if we get more money, we'll get more happiness. The relationship is actually a lot more complex than that. It doesn't come as much of a shock to hear that money can't buy happiness. This phrase has been said to us a lot. But that doesn't tell us what kind of spending will actually make us happy and what kind won't. So, we only have a certain amount of time left on Earth. We're going to sleep for a third of it. You know, we're going to spend another third of it driving to work, taking showers, sitting at a desk, and doing someone else's work. Yes, that's not much life. Do you think I got a third? I can do whatever I want with a third of my waking hours, you know. What am I? So, it's like, it makes them think about their existence. What am I? What matters to me? What do I want my actions to lead to? What do I need to know? What do I want to get out of this? What do I want to see, hear, taste, and touch? What do I want in my one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver puts it? When we look at the numbers, we usually find that people spend most of their money on things for themselves. We all have to pay rent or a mortgage, buy a car, and buy food and clothes, but it seems like people spend a lot of money on things for themselves. And from a psychologist's point of view, the biggest problem is that the amount of money you spend on things for yourself has nothing to do with how happy you are with your life. You don't feel bad about it. We sometimes think that if you buy a lot of stuff, you must be unhappy, but that's not true. It's just that it's flat, no matter how much you think you're getting. It seems like nothing is going on. When people start paying attention to the flow of money and things in their lives in this way, their consumption simply drops by 20 to 25%, because that's how much they spend without thinking. So, when you become aware, that disappears. Many people say they have no idea what they used to buy with their money. They just said, "Oh, I'm spending less." I have no idea what went wrong. All I did was pay attention. I just asked myself, does this purchase really make me happy? When you focus on other people, you sort of turn the arrow from me to you. It seems that on average, when people give to others, which can mean giving to charity, taking a friend to lunch, or buying people gifts, they feel happier. Giving, rather than having, seems to bring more happiness. But thinking about changing is the opposite of buying things for yourself. You can still spend money on yourself, but not on things but on something else. And a lot of studies over the last 10 years have shown that, on average, buying experiences make people happier than buying things for themselves. When we buy things for ourselves, we often end up alone with them. Imagine you're on your phone. When you play a computer game, no matter what it is, you are usually alone with your stuff. Whereas we do some experiences alone, many experiences are designed to be done with other people. If we go out to dinner, see a movie, go hiking, or do anything else with other people, we are no longer alone. It turns out that talking to other people makes us happy. Even small talks with other people make us happier than sitting in a room by ourselves. 80% of kids who go to college have never talked to their parents about money. Where it comes from, how it's made, how it's spent, and what debt is. You can't just throw your kids out into the world without giving them the tools they need. So I went to talk to the people I thought would know the most about this. The bankers for Warren Buffett. They help the richest families in the country, so I thought they must know more about how they can help my family. These rich families are making even more mistakes, it seems. And I got a lot from this talk. First of all, show them the money. It's very important to talk to kids about money at a level that's right for their age, but you still need to talk. As Buffett's banker told me, I talked to the richest woman in America, and she said it's a problem if I tell my children how much money they have. And he said it's a much bigger load to keep them in the dark than to tell them the truth. Number 2, try to keep money from having too much power. We did all of this study at home, and now we have to do our chores. We have a budget. We don't mix them up. Because if you do, it turns out that the kids will do the jobs just for the money. As a member of our family, you get a monthly payment. But sorry, someone has to put the dishes in the sink. Someone's bed has to be made. You are a member of the group. You need to look out for yourself. Last but not least, let them make mistakes. When I told Buffett's banker that we kind of force our kids to put their money in different pots, he made fun of me. You could spend, save, give, etc. He told them to make their own decisions. And I asked, but what if they mess up? What if they wanted to buy something but spent all their money on candy? What if they drive off the road? His answer was one of my favorite lines from The Secrets of Happy Families. He said that it's better to make a mistake with a $6 allowance than a $60,000 income or a $6 million inheritance. The point is to let kids make mistakes when they are young and the risks are low. Then you'll be there to get them. You don't want to get that call when they're 24 and all of a sudden broken in debt because they made bad choices. There are different ways to grow markets. One way is to sell things abroad, and another is to teach your people to want more than they need. And then you have an endless way to sell things because people are always ready to believe the story that more is better, and keep buying things. So that's the old plan. Growth is good, and more growth is better. According to the new roadmap, there is something called enough. And enough is not like a hard cap that says, okay, I've had enough, and I can't have any more. No, enough of this kind of lively, active place. We teach you to be aware of how money and things move through your life. Your real happiness, your sense of meaning, and the things you value, and the point of having enough is having everything you want and need for a life you love and full self-expression, with nothing extra. It's definitely not simple. Sometimes more is more. But there's that sweet spot where less is more and more is more. It's the Goldilocks point, and enough for me. It's like one of the pivot points between the old plan for making money and the new plan for making money. Get smarter more quickly with new movies from the world's best thinkers every week.